Getting that up close and personal look at Ant these last couple of games, what have been your takeaways just from watching him now versus where he was, I don't know, a few months ago, last year, etc.?
So I have such a different take on, like, everybody loves player rankings. And I always think that they are so ridiculous because they don't make sense. They literally don't make logical sense. But you can have these fun, logical arguments inside of them. But here's how I think about him. His talent was great. It was great last year. It is great this year, and it is improving because his size and speed and athleticism and skill level is so rare. You don't get that combination of all of those pieces very often. So to me, he's very capable of being as good of an MVP player as there is in the league. The question, though, but there's so many of those guys. Joel Embiid's one of those guys. Like, there's so many of those guys out there. The difference is, what effect do they have on your team? And a lot of that is basketball questions. What effect do they have? But some of them are character questions. They're personality questions. And you watch this playoffs, he's always been charismatic at the podium, but it's the things he's saying that are like, Anthony Edwards is doing what a coach usually does. He goes to the podium and he sets the narrative every single day. And he says, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. This is what they'll ask Karl Anthony Towns a question. He'll answer it. This is who Karl is. Like, he'll tell you. He's doing all of it in a way, and it's natural. I don't think he's thinking through this stuff. It's natural. So not only does he have the talent, he's competitive every game. There's a reason they swept the Suns. To sweep a team, you have to be focused even when there's no reason to be focused. They were focused because he's focused. They're competitive because he's competitive. They're tough because he is tough. And he has the talent to back it up. So to me, I look at him and I go, he is a special talent, but there's a lot of special talent in the NBA. But he's a special person, I think. Like a special, I'm not saying a good person or bad person, a special leader in this arena. And he's so much of an outlier. He's not just good at it. He appears to be great at this. And that is the thing that I think separates him from even your Jason Tatums and so many of your other great players. He's different in a class of his own.
It struck me, you mentioned, you compared him to a coach. Like, I forget which question it was last night after the game, but he was like, and now I'm just going to take a quick shout out for Jaden McDaniels. Like, I'm
That's
going
a coach move.
Yeah, I'm going to pivot completely away from what you asked me to answer what I want to answer because I'm sending a message to my guys. And yet he's 22 years old. Like, to have those fingertips for what, what keeps everybody going, what keeps the plate spinning and keeps everybody churning is wild. So the Nuggets.
And by the way, Dan, he was right about Jaden McDaniels, because sometimes guys will try to do that, but it's so clearly false. Even the one where he said Karl Anthony Towns is our best offensive player. I remember I listened to that one and I go, all right, it's a little you're overdoing it. Scale it back 10% here. You're playing the hand too hard. But his point about Jaden McDaniels was the right point. He said, guys, Jaden McDaniels plus 23 tonight or whatever, game high plus 33, whatever it was. He didn't even mention that, but he just said Jaden McDaniels only got 7 shots. And yet he was the key of the game. That's such a great point that he just has his finger on the pulse of what the team needs, what the players need, but also what is right and true. And I'm just so impressed with it.
It goes back to something that Chris Finch said. Chris Finch, we forget their coach is playing through a patellar, torn patellar tendon.
Right.
But after he was at the podium after last night's game, and he said, quote, "The goal has always been to put out a team that people like to cheer for. Doesn't happen unless you play hard. Usually doesn't happen unless you play defense and share the ball. We're doing all of those things right now." And you're sort of seeing that harmonic convergence and the rising tide lifting all boats. The Nuggets have been capable of that in the past. It is a level they are going to have to reach to get back into this series. And we will keep a close eye on that over the next few days before Game 3 and see if the tide can turn in Denver's favor back in Minnesota.